1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's record this. Okay, so this is Lockdown Live. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Good evening, everybody. Can you all see and hear me all okay? Does everything look okay to you guys? Let me know in the chat section, and then we'll do a couple of little welcomes once I know everybody can hear me okay. Sounds good. Video 2. Thank you very much, Stratos. You're a gent. Okay. Well, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you very much for everybody that's joined in on this 4th, and I can't believe it's the 4th already, of these lockdown live streams as part of WP Tuts. For me, they've been a real huge amount of fun. It's been a real eye-opener to get involved in the whole sort of live streaming side of things. So I hope you're all finding these things useful. It's great to have a kind of two-way conversation where I can throw some ideas out there, some questions out there. You can come back and answer, and the same in return. So I hope you are enjoying these and you'd like to see them continue, because I know for me, I'm absolutely having a ball doing these kinds of things. So let me know if you are enjoying these, and we'll keep these going. Okay, so let's take a couple of minutes to take a couple of hellos to everybody that sort of made the time to come and join us today. Okay, who do we have? Carl. Oh, I was getting worried for a minute there, Carl. I didn't think you were going to turn up. So let's just say hello to Carl. And let me just... There we go. Okay, so good evening, Carl. Great to see you here, as always. Steve Pro, again, good to see you here. Robert Wilson. We've got Pinto TV. Good to see you here, my good man. Pablo, and hi to Colombia. And we've got Paul C. I'm in the chat as well. So I've either got someone that's a doppelganger or someone stealing my name. Paul C, I think you and I need to have a little bit of a talk later on, and we'll I'll get my legal team on that copyright issue and trademarking. I've got my eye on you. Okay, so Jason Smith, hello. And we've got Gary Neeson, David Heckle, Paul C. I'm sorry, sir, that's my name. We can't have two people with Paul C. It's just wrong. It's going to confuse people. I think people will think I'm talking to myself now. That's just even more weird. Mohammed Elstack, we've got Matthews. Oh, sorry. I think it's Matthews. Sorry if I butchered that name. My apology. Pascal, good to see you here. And we've got Anthony T. Thank you very much. The real Paul C is in the house. So, Nadia, good to see you here. Philip, well, it's great to see people piling in. I've got a couple of things I want to cover in this live stream, but as always, 50% of this is you talking to me and telling me things that you're interested in, asking me questions, all those kinds of good things. So let me go through the different points that I want to bring up in today's live stream. And then by all means, in between those, we'll chuck some questions out there. We'll have a little bit of conversation. Please, Carl is going to help out in the chat section as well. So I'm sure he'll do a fantastic job like he always does, fielding questions, answering and helping out in general. So a pat on the back for you. Okay, Evan, good to see you here as well. I hope you're doing well. So that's the most important thing at the moment. I mean, the world is still... Oh, my screen's got a bit funny. Bear with me a second. There we go. We're back. Can everybody still see me now? Everything okay? Hope so, because this always does a bit of a weird thing with the camera. Anyway, as I was saying, I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you're safe. I hope wherever you are in the world, you are looking after yourself and things are at some point going to get back to some kind of normality. And I hope you're kind of doing the best with the situation as it is at the moment. In the UK, things are definitely taking a turn for the worse again. We are looking at various different places in lockdown. And where I live in Wales, basically all bar one county around me are all in lockdown. So we are pretty much slap bang in the middle. So we can't actually go outside the county to go anywhere else, which is kind of strange. So the zombies are definitely starting to close in on us. Okay, right. Curious, what are you doing with your phone to control the camera? What camera are you using to do the live stream? Anthony, I'll come back to that in a moment and I'll tell you and I'll explain why things can tend to go a little bit weird from time to time. Okay, so that's out of the way. And let me just go through and answer a couple of these little questions. Then we'll kick off with point number one that I want to cover today. So Anthony, to ask you a question, I'm using the GH5. It's connected up to a Atmos Ninja monitor and then streaming through my A10 Mini into my laptop. And I've got a couple of different things feeding off it. I think I did a little photograph of this on the first live stream. And then I'm using the phone to control, just to make sure that the exposure is right, all that kind of thing, and the focus and everything is right. Because it's getting later in the UK, and even though I've got the light set up, it does kind of throw the lighting off. And this kind of just goes into like sleep mode every now and again. So if the screen goes blank for any reason, just bear with me. I'll just twiddle with the phone a little bit and it should bring us back up online okay. But other than that, hopefully we'll have no real issues tonight with this live stream. Okay, Tom, cheers from Norway. Have you tried and tested Editor X? I know you invested in Elementor, but they changed the plugin Theme Madness to Webflow 1 year ago and I've not looked back. Yeah, in the last live stream 2 weeks ago, we talked about Editor X and we had a quick little look at it. Excuse me. I think Editor X is a really interesting platform, and I think it's something that, because it's got the Wix name attached to it, I think it will probably be overlooked and kind of poo-pooed a little bit for the fact that it is associated with Wix. But I think it's one of those things very much like Webflow. It's worth taking a look at. I'm not saying the whole platform is worth moving over to, but I definitely think it's a more interesting proposition than Wix ever was or is. Same goes for Webflow. I think Webflow has a lot of really good uses, and I am going to be doing a video where we're going to compare why you would want to use Webflow or WordPress in a given situation, because I think a lot of people are interested. I think when you're invested in WordPress, you kind of don't look at all those other options necessarily. And then when something like what's happened with Elementor, if you're invested in Elementor, or I believe happened with Divi however many years ago, I think then you start to reevaluate, and sometimes that can be a little too late. So maybe it's worthwhile looking at some of these other platforms. So I know on the channel, I do want to take a look at some of these other platforms in a little bit of detail and see what's available in comparison to WordPress alongside, you know, Elementor or Divi or Beaver Builder or any of those kinds of tools. So yes, I have taken a look at it. Yes, I do think it's really interesting. And the same goes for Webflow. So I think you should do it for your sort of like, you should do it if you are a web designer, to take a look at these other platforms so you keep yourself abreast with what's going on out there. And then sometimes you have a better option that, while you can't move all your clients over to it, you could take a look at working with new clients on that platform, or for the right kind of client on the right kind of platform. Hope that makes sense anyway. Okay, so what else do we have? Canada, good afternoon, evening in Canada. What is the time in Canada? Let me know. For me, Webflow Editor X and other page builders, it's a choice depending on the project I'm going to build. Yeah, I think that's the thing. As designers, we have to be cognizant of the fact that WordPress isn't always the best platform for a particular client, for a particular problem, for a particular web design, all those kinds of things. So always keep your eyes open to what other options are out there. And I think transitioning your skills between these different tools gets easier the more you do it. And like I think I said in the last live stream, when you use something like advanced custom fields, when you then look at Jet Engine, or you look at pods, or you look at toolkit, whichever one it is, I never get right, it does make the transition easier because you have that core foundational skills and knowledge in how these particular tools work. So transitioning to these other options becomes a lot easier. As designers, we owe it to ourselves to keep up to speed with things that are going on out there. So that's my opinion anyway. Okay, it's 1 p.m. in Ontario, Canada. Okay, not too bad then. Afternoon, so it's probably a little too early to be having a drink, but I'm sure myself and Carl will be partaking of a cold drink, so please do. Okay, so let me just hop over to the first thing that I want to cover and talk about today. And let's just pop screens over. And that is the Elementor 3.0, the official response. Now, I'm sure that most of you that use Elementor have seen the post on the Elementor Facebook group, on the WP Tuts Facebook group, and I'm sure lots of other Facebook groups, if you haven't had an email coming through from Elementor themselves regarding what's happened with Elementor 3.0. And currently, I think 11 different or 12 different patches, I believe, in the last month, something like that. So how do you feel about this response? Do you think it was a little too late? Do you think it was maybe damage control? Do you think it was a sincere thing? Because I've seen a lot of mixed responses to this on different sort of forums, different platforms, just people having a difference of opinion. I think from my point of view, I think it's a combination of damage control, because so many people that use Elementor for a living have had real problems. And we could always say that you should always use a staging site, you should do all those different things, and we all know you should do that. But that's not always a viable option when you have 100 clients. So then you can run into real problems. And I've also heard of people that have tested things out on a staging site, pushed that staging site live, and then experienced issues on the live site. So I don't think anything is foolproof. You can have a staging site, you can do all those things, and you could still run into problems. So I think, for me, I think there was a certain aspect of damage control because so many people were annoyed with it. I think they needed to have brought this out. I think they should have done it sooner. I will be brutally honest. I do think they should have had this official word coming out much sooner, because there was a certain level of radio silence that really annoyed some people in the Facebook group. You've got 5 million plus users, and I would assume, let's just say 15% of those are paying users. You have an obligation to those paying people to tell them what's going on and tell them what you're doing to try to rectify it. And maybe they should have pulled version 3 completely from the service and just let people continue working with 2. Whatever the latest one, I think it's 2.10 something, left them working with that and sorted the problems out behind the scenes, pushed it out for more beta testing, got more people involved in it, and then reintroduce it. I think a lot of people probably would have been happier with that scenario than what actually took place. But that's just my opinion. What are your thoughts on this? I know some of you have had problems. I know some of you have had absolutely a dream of a time with no problems whatsoever. But taking that out of the equation, knowing what happened, knowing how it's been dealt with, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the chat. Let me just sort of gauge your feedback on this. And then that's the last we're going to talk about this then today. We're going to move forward on other things. But I thought, because this only kind of came out yesterday or today, I thought it's worth bringing up because we talked about Elementor 3.0 and a lot of the issues over the last couple of live streams. So I think it's something that we really owe it to ourselves to just maybe just wrap it up at this point, with this final kind of thing. So let me know in the chat. And I'm just going to say quickly, Laura Mabi, thank you very much for that super chat. You are an absolute star. Your support is fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's have a little look what we have inside the chat section with regards to this particular topic. Okay, so we've got Elstec. They should have addressed the community sooner, not wait till they had solutions for the future. I can't disagree with you in the slightest. I think they should have rolled out something. Even if it wasn't an official response, I think a lot of people would have just appreciated them coming back and saying, look, we know people are having problems. We're really, really sorry about the whole situation. We're doing everything we can behind the scenes to make this, this issue be dealt with as quick as is humanly possible. So please bear with us. That wouldn't have solved the problem. It wouldn't have alleviated the problems that some people were experiencing, but I think it would have gone a heck of a long way to a goodwill situation to make people feel that they were being listened to, that the frustration was being listened to in the forums, and it wasn't going unheard of. So I think they could have benefited themselves a little bit. But hindsight is 2020, and if anything like this happens again, which I'm sure it will in maybe a lesser way, maybe they'll come back a little bit quicker. They'll take these things on board. Every business has its highs and it has its lows. And how you handle those lows is more important than how you handle those highs, in my opinion. You handle it well, and people will be very forgiving, very understanding. There's always going to be outliers on both sides, but the majority of people will be understanding and appreciate the fact that you took the time to come and say, look, we're listening to you. We're doing everything we can. Just please bear with us. We just didn't expect it to be this much of a problem, and we are really, really, really sorry. That's just my takeaway from it. That's the way maybe they should have handled it. But, hindsight, like I say, is a 2020 situation. Okay, what do we have on here then? Fat J, I'm still salty that they deleted my meme. It had like 500 likes. I didn't see your meme. I'm sorry. Maybe you should post that up onto the WP Tuts Facebook group so we can have a little look and a little chuckle before we get deleted from there by an overzealous mod. So anyway, okay. Paul C, I give them feedback that they should have pushed it back to beta and tested more thoroughly. I think you and a heck of a lot of people said the same kind of thing. Like I say, 2020, that's hindsight, and maybe they'll go down that route the next time something like this happens, or they come across a problem that needs to be addressed that does affect so many different paying customers and free customers, but paying customers are the ones that keep your business alive. Okay, Tom Somerset. Most of our sites managed and the 3X quite well, but one site had to be downgraded and recent patch resolved some of the display issues. Off topic, what's the state of Elementor? Could it live without WordPress? Kind of two parts of the question. First of all, I'm glad that 99% of your sites went flawlessly. And it's always a pain when you get one that does have a problem, but 1 out of 99, for example, is going to be much better than the opposite. Do I imagine that we will see Elementor moving away and becoming a standalone product? Now, this is something that a lot of people have kind of put to the table with that's the way they think Elementor are going. But I do have a recollection, and I could be wrong on this. I could have been dreaming this. I do have a recollection of there being comments before saying that that was not the direction that Elementor was intending to go in. That it was a WordPress-based platform, and that's the way that it would stay. Whether that's changed, whether I dreamt that, which is highly possible, I don't know. But I could see that there would be a reason to do it, but I don't know. That's a big shift. I know Brizy are doing a great job of doing that kind of thing, and I like the fact that they're not solely reliant upon WordPress. However, you could ask yourself then is if they did do that, would they benefit from splitting the workforce between, for example, 70% WordPress, 30% standalone product? Are you going to be pulling developers from the core of what people are paying for right now to develop another platform, and whether that would be a good thing? I don't know. These are growing pains. These are things that only the people inside Elementor HQ know about, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to tell us anytime soon. So we can speculate. And if I'm honest, I don't think it would be a particularly bad thing if they moved away from WordPress, because the WordPress platform inherently has a lot of flaws. You know, this is why platforms like Webflow, platforms like EditorX are so attractive to so many people, because you don't have to patch, you don't have to upgrade, you have less security issues, you have less issues between plugins and themes and all those kinds of things. So I think they are definitely things that let WordPress down and probably make Elementor's job even more difficult, because that billions of combinations of plugins and themes and all those kinds of things, I can imagine that would be virtually impossible to come close to finding all the bugs and issues that could happen from all those combinations, and then chuck in some servers, and then chuck in different versions of different plugins and different themes and all those kinds of things. And for me, I would not want to be in a situation like that. I think a closed platform is something that can be so much safer to work with. Anyway, that's just my sort of point on it. Okay, just quick shout out. Thank you very much, Patrick Killian, for the super chat. Again, you are an absolute star, and the same goes to Steve Pro. Thank you very much. Like I say, your support is amazing. You don't need to do this. Don't feel like you're obligated to do super chats. You're not in the slightest, but just know that they are highly appreciated if you do choose to do that. Okay, so let's just take one or two more questions and have a quick sip of a drink, and then we'll take a look at the next thing. Okay, what do we have? Elementor just has to say, let me just have a look at that. Sorry, let's scroll back up. Okay, Evan. Communication is not their strong point. Post on the Facebook group doesn't take that much time. I'm reserving ultimate judgment to see what plan they have for dealing with outside devs. Yeah, I think you kind of on the same kind of lines as what I'm saying there, that it doesn't take a lot of time and effort to just say what's going on, or at least to apologize and tell people that you are listening. You know, that allays a lot of fears. Radio silence just lets everything just fester and lets people speculate, and anger very quickly builds up on a faceless platform like a Facebook group or Twitter. You know, there's lots of keyboard warriors out there that will very quickly start an argument because they're frustrated with a situation, and that can just blow up into something that's quite ugly. I'm sure we've all seen it time and time again. So yeah, I think it's a difficult time for the Elementor people. Hopefully they will look back at what they've done, how they've dealt with it, and maybe revise that. I know that the official statement sort of hints and suggests these kinds of things, but you know, words are words, but actions are something that are far more. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But you know what I'm trying. You know what I'm getting at. You know, actions will speak louder than words is what I think I'm trying to get at. Okay. Okay. So the next thing I want to cover. Let me just quickly go over to my next screen and go to the next thing. Now, this is again an Elementor 3.0 kind of thing, but this isn't a moan about anything. This is just, we talked about in a video that I released say a couple of weeks ago, which is my perfect Elementor and some of the things that I would like to see in it. Working on a project this week and last week for a deep dive tutorial. I was trying to do something. I'll explain it in a bit more detail in a moment. But the one thing that came to the forefront was the fact that theme styles, as they are at the moment, are not enough. And what I mean by that is theme styles is a great idea. And I think it's something that has been needed in Elementor for quite some time. But if I remember correctly, and I think I asked this in the last live stream, when they originally released theme styles, there was, theme styles? Yeah, theme styles. There was a feature in there that allowed you to have more than one theme style, or it was at least being hinted at there was going to be more than one theme style could be used inside a website. And that to me was something that's really exciting. And the reason I'm saying about this and bringing it up now is because when you have one, it restricts some of our design features. Now, I'm building a test site where I've got a front-end site, which is what the client would normally see, or the end user would normally see. But then you want to have a custom dashboard. But that custom dashboard is going to have completely different styling to what the front end of the site would have. This is where it would be the perfect opportunity to have a theme style for the front end of the site and a theme style for a dashboard on the site. But because you don't, you've got to be careful how you set up the theme style right now, that it doesn't cause problems when you then try to create something that looks different, a different feeling for your custom dashboard. So for example, I don't want the same header and footer inside the dashboard. I want to get rid of those because it's not relevant to the dashboard. So I want to have different styling for a custom navigation and maybe custom, sort of copyright section at the bottom with maybe different links and things. But because you can't have multiple theme styles, that makes the whole situation a bit of a problem. So I'm hoping that they will bring back the multiple theme style option where you could then select different theme styles on a page-by-page basis, or maybe a section-by-section basis, or subdomain, or something. I don't know how you'd actually go about doing it. But I think just having one, just being limited to one theme style is going to be very restrictive for sites that are a little more complex than just a typical front-facing site and nothing more. But have you come across a situation where you think theme styles is very limiting and you need to have more functionality to be able to have more theme styles to become more creative and use them in the way they're intended to be used? Again, let me know in the chat if you've ever used it and what your thoughts are on having multiple theme styles as part of Elementor, the whole theme style setup and all those kind of global fonts and styling and so on. What are your thoughts on that? Let's have a little look anyway. What do we have? Okay. Maybe they should have offered reduced price for beta testing. Ooh, harsh. True, but harsh. I think the page-by-page basis would be very useful, Pascal. I agree. It's not difficult to sort of say you have one global theme style, and that takes precedence. So your number one theme style that's set as global is now applied to everything unless you change that theme style on a particular page or a template file, anything like that. I don't see how that would be that difficult. I mean, at the end of the day, all these values are stored inside the database anyway. And StyleKits did it, which was a great little plugin. That allowed you to have multiple different styles, which you could switch between. And if you're going to do this kind of thing, it would also be quite cool to see this where you could have multiple styles which could be user switchable on the front end. So how cool would it be, excuse me, to have a dark mode? Now, there are a couple of plugins that do this kind of thing, and there's also some CSS techniques you can use to do it. And I'm looking at maybe taking a look at creating a video on how to do this, where you can have a dark mode website and a light mode website to switch between them very easily. But it would be nice to see something like that built directly into Elementor itself, where you could have user selectable style kits. But to start off with, I'd just be happy to have the ability to switch between them on different parts of a site. So that's my thought process with it. And I just think that's a good way of going. Excuse me for having a drink. Okay. So what do you think about Oxygen Theme Builder? We'll come back to Oxygen in a little bit because we've covered Oxygen quite a few times over the last couple of episodes of this. And the general consensus is basically, I think it's a good platform, has potential, but has a horrible UI and UX. I think they need to hire someone to really look into making that a better place to work. It's just functional, but just looks ugly. That's my opinion on it. But as a platform, I think it's definitely something that's very, very interesting and something that I'm keeping my eye on. And at some point, when time permits it, I will get the opportunity to jump in there and start testing things out in a little bit more detail with it. But just rest assured, I will be looking at Oxygen as well as some other different options for WordPress and outside of WordPress as well. So I'm going to be taking a look at those over the next couple of months, towards the end of this year probably. Okay, so what do we have? Carl, I'd love different theme styles for page-by-page basis. This way we can, and then fonts and colors for each page and match the focus of the page, such as product pages, each project being different. Yeah. And again, Fat J, different theme styles for mobiles. There's so many different things that you could do with this if you had the ability to be able to use multiple different theme styles. And I think that's one of the things. These ideas are great, and I'd love to see them, come to fruition, because I think as a platform, it's a good way of developing. As designers, it gives us more opportunities to get creative for different things. You could have different parts of a site where you want to get creative and have different kind of color schemes and so on, as long as it's done well and done tastefully. But at the moment, it is slightly hampered by the fact that we are limited to just one of them. So I would like to see more of those theme styles and those theme style options and multiple theme styles. That's kind of the overarching thing that I think I'm saying. So yeah, so I can see a couple of people would be interested in the same kind of thing. And, once you let your imagine kind of run away with it, you can start to see how it would be really useful in much the same way as we talked about last week, where I said I would love to have seen Elementor originally being developed in a more modular fashion, that there was Elementor Core, which was the core fundamentals, and then all the extra things like Lottie animations and ACF functionality and all those kinds of things, they were a bolt-on using the API in much the same way that third-party plugins bolt onto the API as part of Elementor itself. So, I think the more we have like this, the better. More options we have, it's just a great way of working. Anyway, yep. So I can see a few people are actually in agreement. In fact, Jay, where's it gone? Let me just have a little look. These just moving way too quick. So bear with me as I kind of lose track of where we were going. Pascal, that would be a great tutorial, dark mode. Yeah, I think it's quite a cool little thing. I've looked at a couple of plugins that allow you to do it. I just want to find the most streamlined way of being able to do this. So when I create content on it, it just makes sense. Okay. Gary Nisam, I agree, Paul. You probably only use 10 to 20% of them. If that, that's the thing. It's the same with all these different platforms. You just don't use all the different tools, and having to load all those in every single time you have a site is just not going to have the biggest, or it's going to have an impact upon performance, where we could have a much more streamlined experience from a development point of view, but also from when we're optimizing a site. It's easier to optimize a smaller site with less features that are not needed, but still loading, than it is to try to, speed up a site that has everything, including the kitchen sink included in it. Okay. There's a slowdown mode for live chat. There is indeed, Anthony T, and I didn't check that option, but I think next time I probably will. It's just you guys, you're just talking way too much. I just could have a beer and let you carry on. It's quite easy to do. Okay, so one more thing I want to come back to, and just bear with me a second. There's something that you might not know about. Now, P.NET, as you know, have a plugin that has a bit of a mixed feedback on it, should we say. Lots of people love what the plugin does, but don't like support. Other people have had good support situations, but they're not so fussed on the plugin. And as we know, the documentation and the help and support on P.NET is not always on par with what it should be. However, they have listened to what a lot of people have said about some of the different sections of their plugin, and they split off or created a standalone Forms plugin now, which is called P.NET Forms, as you can see on screen at the moment. Now, I've only had a look at this very, very briefly today, and there are two versions of this. There's the free version, which has some basic options in it, and then there's the pro version, which, if I remember rightly, is something like $80 for lifetime for unlimited sites. And in my brief look at this, and like I say, do not take this as an endorsement. Do not take this as something you should run out and quickly buy into. But I know Forms is one of those areas that a lot of people ask about, and a lot of people are looking for an option that works well. So it's nice to see that they've taken something that had potential in the full suite, split it off, and created something standalone. Price-wise, I think in comparison to some of the other ones out there, it is incredibly well priced. However, it is still very early, so I don't know how good it is. I don't know how stable it is. And like I say, I'm not endorsing this, but I think I just wanted to bring your attention to it, because I will be creating some kind of content on it in the next couple of weeks once I've got my head around it. But there are some interesting features that I wanted to draw your attention to with this. Obviously, you have all the normal form building elements inside there. You can drop in your different forms. You can have multi-step forms, all those kinds of useful things. But you also have options for linking it through to a database. You've got options for booking forms. You've got options for payment options. You can have it set up for register, login, and edit profile pages. There's conditional logic on every single element inside there. You could book appointments on it. So I think if this is a solid plugin with hopefully better support than the standard P.NET, I think this is something that could be quite a good plugin. I think it could be an interesting option, because Forms plugins, by their very nature, just tend to be stupidly expensive. I just don't understand why Forms are so expensive as plugins in WordPress. It's like you do a single job. When you compare the price of a form plugin to the price of something like Elementor, and they charge you more for a plugin that does one job as opposed to something like Elementor that can do so much more, it just seems crazy to me. There's like certain plugin groups for WordPress, which are very expensive. I just don't see why. So maybe Pure.net can shake that up a little bit. Maybe it's one of those things that the plugin, as it develops, as it gets user feedback, as they iron out any bugs that might be in there, starts to gain some nice traction. So I'd be interested to take a look at that and keep an eye on it. But have any of you tried this out? Have you tried the free version? Have you looked at the pro version? Would you be put off because it's Pure.net? What are your thoughts on this? What are your experiences, if you've got any? Because I know, Evan, you've used Pure.net stuff in the past and you've had a bit of a mixed bag with it. So I'd love to hear your feedback on what you think about this. So please do let me know. And anybody else that's got any kind of information about this or any experience of it, let me know in the chat section about that. Because like I say, I'm interested in seeing what it does, but I can only spend so much time on any kind of plugin to get a feel for it. So I don't always experience the frustrations that you might get. And the same goes for when I contact support. Because a lot of time it's kind of logged in as my account, they know who I am. And if they've contacted me to take a look at their plugin or theme or whatever, and I am taking a look at it, they're probably going to treat me with a little bit of preferential treatment because they want me to say good things about what it is they want me to take a look at, their plugin, their theme, and so on. But as always, I'd rather get your feedback on it. That's why I kind of keep an eye on what you were saying in not only the WP Touch Facebook group, but also on Twitter, on my account, and also in like the Elementor groups and any of the other groups that focus on Elementor and plugins and things like that. So be aware that I do kind of keep track of what's being said, keeping an eye on things. And that's sometimes why you'll see I might look at a particular product and show you some videos on it, and then I hear a lot of really negative feedback about it, and then I may not go back and take a look at it too much because you're not loving what it can do. If you wonder why, sort of plugins kind of fall out of favor sometimes, that can be the reason why. Oh, I might have just covered everything in complete detail and I don't need to go back and do anything else with it. But like I say, let me know. Okay, so what do we have in the comments, in the chat? Let's have a little look. What we got? Pure.net, right, it's Pascal. Pure.net, great form plugin, but no support. I've only used it for a customer, but better than a lot of others, in my honest opinion. Again, like I say, the support thing I think is a difficult one because I think there's only maybe 2 or 3 of them involved in it, and obviously they're an Asian company, I believe. So I can imagine the time difference between where they are and some other places, and not having dedicated support because obviously they're not a big plugin and not a big development platform. It's going to hurt them, it really is. And because English isn't their first language, I think they can be a lot lost in translation. So I understand your point. And again, it's one of those things that I've heard it time and time again. So I am cognizant of the fact that, there is an issue there. I have fed that back to them in the past when I first took a look at Pure.net. So please do understand that when you tell me these different things or I hear these different things, I do feed back to the different companies where possible and where sort of viable to do it. I do go back and actually say, maybe you need to look at this. Maybe you need to get involved in that. So yeah, it's good to hear that the plugin is good, but not good to hear that support is still not up to what we would consider to be top notch. But there's probably reasons for it. So anyone else that we've got then? Christopher Gatt. With the price they are offering this for, you might as well buy their Pure.net Pro package, which includes Pure.net Forms. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't looked at Pure.net in a little while, but I don't think that it works in the same way that Pure.net Forms does. And if I'm not mistaken, Pure.net is Elementor only. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But the Forms is WordPress, is not linked to Elementor. It's a standalone product completely. It works in a very similar fashion to Elementor. So if you use it, you'll find that the interface looks very, very similar. The way that the interface is laid out, the columns, the sections, and those kinds of things. But it doesn't rely upon Elementor to be usable, whereas I think Pure.net, if I'm mistaken, that does. But like I say, I could be talking absolute rubbish on that, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, what have we got? Yeah, Michael M. True, I use Gravity for some functionalities, but I do believe Elementor is lacking there. Elementor's forms are, again, one of those things. I know I kind of rag on Elementor in various different things. It doesn't come from a place of negativity. It comes from a place of frustration because the software is so very needy there in so many different areas that it frustrates me when they go off and spend time creating new widgets that are not really important to probably 80 or 90% of users, and then still don't fully feature some of the things that probably every designer would want to use. Forms, for example. Tell me how many websites you've ever built or used that don't have forms, and I would say you could probably count them on one hand. You know, that to me is one of the things that leads to frustration with it. But I love Elementor. I love what it does. I love what it's done to the industry. I just get frustrated with it. So I feel exactly where you're coming from. Have I tried Forminator? No, I don't think I have. I've looked at Forminator, I think. Let me just open up the screen and let me take a little look at it. Forminator. Forms, like I say, one of those things, the forms to me is just, there are so many options, and some of them give you good free options, and some of them are, they just strip out some of the things that are really useful and then charge you like an absolute wounded bull just to buy into those particular things. No, I haven't taken a look at Forminator. It doesn't ring a bell. The name does, but I haven't taken a look at it. So I will bookmark that and take a little look at that later on and see what I think of it. Okay, what else do we have? Forminator is the best free contact plugin. Like I say, I'll take a little look at it and see what I think of it and see what I like it. Simon Graves, Paul, hang on, bear with me a second. Right, where's Simon gone? Right, there we go. Paul, can the login feature of PureNet Forms redirect to a custom URL if you put in the wrong info? None of the ones I've found do anything other than redirect to the normal WordPress password recovery. That is one of those things. I don't know, if I'm honest, I don't know. I haven't really tried it out. So you're going to have to let me try it out before I can say yay or nay on that front. If anyone's got experience of PureNet Forms, sorry, PureNet itself, and they've used the forms and they've used the login feature, because I think it's pretty much based on the same type of functionality, just pulled out as a standalone. Let me know if you can do that in there, because I'm not sure if you can, because I've never really used it from that point of view. I agree with you. It's one of those things that for some reason they seem to leave out the whole password page. It doesn't seem to get any love whatsoever. So again, it's one of those things that I've been looking at ways of being able to create sort of more customized lost password recover password pages and create a tutorial that shows the entire process. But I need to find something, a viable way, because I don't like to just use tons and tons of plugins to do something. If I can, I'd like to use code to do some things. So I am looking at ways of setting up the redirect to go to a different page. I just need to look into ways of doing it. But rest assured, I am looking into ways of creating a seamless login, registration, logout, lost password setup so you can create something truly customized. It's one of those things that's on my to-do list that's getting longer by the day. Okay. Michael Wright, I've already got PureNet. Is there anything extra in the standalone Forms plugin? I haven't done a comparison yet, so I can't say for definite if there is or isn't. What I can say, though, is, like I said, that the Forms plugin is standalone. It's not reliant upon Elementor. I think that's probably the biggest strength it's going to have. I can imagine the core functionality is going to be very similar between the two, but it is operating as a complete standalone product. So that might be one of those things that's enough to swing people into using that over something like just the PureNet plugin itself or an alternative. But like I say, rest assured, I will be taking a look at it. I will be taking a look at testing it out as much as is humanly possible, because as we know, the documentation on anything to do with PureNet is not necessarily the strongest area of the sales pitch, should we say. So I've got to kind of spend time looking at it, figuring out how to use it, testing it, and then just seeing exactly what's going on. But one thing I will tell you that if you try it out, if you've got an SSL certificate installed on your website, but for some reason you haven't activated the SSL or you haven't set WordPress to go to HTTPS, it will throw an error. It just basically just continues to load because it's trying to load in the HTTPS SSL version of the files into a non-SSL version of the site, and that just causes it to fall over. So if you find that it just has a looping load screen, check that just to make sure that you've got your SSL set up and you've got WordPress set up to be SSL as well. Anyway, okay, what have we got? Okay, let's just leave that where we go. Okay, one more thing then. Hi, Paul C. More and more businesses want to do live online videos, webinars, classes on their websites like fitness. Anyone try integrating the Zoom plugin for this with a hidden member section? No, because I think if you wanted to go down the route of something like that, I think you'd be better off using some kind of webinar software. Mainly because WordPress is a great platform, but sometimes we can try to put things into it and get it to do things it's not really intended to do, and it doesn't necessarily give the best user experience for people. So I would say for webinars, in the same way, excuse me, we've got lots of other different kinds of things that WordPress isn't really intended to do. I would look at a dedicated platform for doing it. Okay. Okay, one more question, and then we're going to go to the next thing I want to cover. I'm conscious at the time. It's like, I can't believe how quick these live streams fly by. It's just insane. Zafar Khan, can you tell us about nulled theme? I'm not too sure what you mean, but are you talking like in general, what are nulled themes or things like that? If you're talking about what is a nulled theme, nulled just basically means that it will work without you having to put in things like the serial number or the code, the registration code kind of thing. Those kinds of things have been stripped out a lot of time. But what you have with that is, first of all, you are not paying people for their hard work, which I fundamentally believe is wrong. If you're testing something out, you can have the argument of, should you do this, shouldn't you do it? And there are other ways of doing it where you can take advantage of the GPL license, which, again, I don't really agree with, but you can do it. But what you're kind of doing is you are limiting yourself then that you can't get updates because you don't have a legitimate version. So updates become more difficult, more complex. You are avoiding paying what you should be paying for something you're using. There are lots of reasons why you shouldn't use nulled plugins, themes. And also, a lot of the time, you'll find there's malicious code in there. There can be malware in there. There can be backdoors into the security of your site. So if you want to take those risks, and I'm not saying you particularly do, but it's just in general, if you want to take those risks, then whatever happens to your site from there is kind of your own fault. That's the way I kind of look at it. If you want to make sure you get the best experience, support the people that actually create these products, you have to pay for them. Simple as that. And most of the time, form questions out of the way. Form plugins out of the way. These things are not that expensive. I know that's subjective. It always is subjective. Some countries, you can spend $20 on something and it's the same as buying a couple of coffees. Other countries, $20 could be a week's wages. Unfortunately, that is the situation, and not everybody can afford to pay for it, but I don't think nulled software is the way to go about using any kind of plugin, theme, or service, or whatever it is. My opinion, anyway. So hopefully that was okay then, so far. Okay, so the next thing I want to quickly go over is your designs. Now, we spoke about this a couple of weeks back, where I'm going to take someone's design and we're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to give you my feedback on the various different aspects of it. This is only going to be a very brief one because I just want to see how this goes and get your input on this particular design. Now, Volker is a very nice gentleman. I don't know if he's in the live chat tonight. I don't think he is, but I just want to sort of take a look at his site. And we're just going to pull that up, and I'm just going to give you my feedback on the site itself. So bear with me. And this is the site, which is a site called Yacht Strip. Now, I'm going to put this back into German because this is being translated. And one of the problems with the translation is it tends to throw out various different aspects of the site. So in other words, what I would have picked up on things like missing capital letters and things isn't relevant because it's due to the fact it's done a translation by Google Translate. But this is the site. And as you can see, it's all to do with yachting, and I assume it's the cleaning and so on. So I'm not really sure exactly what it's all about. But from a design aesthetic, I want to go through a couple of things on here that I think, with a little bit of tweaking, would just add a little final level of polish. Because overall, I think the site is great. There's nothing wrong with the site whatsoever. But I think a couple of little tweaks could make it just a little bit better again. Now, first of all, let's just go over to the shop, and I'll tell you the first thing that I'm not so fussed on. Now, what happens is a lot of time you kind of go over to the shop, and it was opening up in a separate page. So I've got it into a separate tab, although it doesn't seem to be doing it now. But it still leads me back onto that point. If you're designing a site and you've got a shop or you've got subdomains or anything like that to do with the site, please don't put them into separate tabs. Don't open a new tab up for the shop, because it's kind of frustrating that, I'm kind of being taken off the one tab to another tab when I'm still on your site. So that might have had something to do with the fact that I was using the Google Translate earlier on for this particular example. But in general, I would say please do avoid that kind of thing. And the other thing that really I don't like, I'm not about this site in particular, but I came across it today. I was looking for the account page on a site where I've already purchased something. And there's one thing that really annoys me is where people put the account link or the link to the account of a site you've got to log in to get your serial number, make payments and invoices and so on. And they don't put one at the top, they put it at the bottom, and it's not available at the top. That to me is totally counterintuitive. We are ingrained in us that the account link is predominantly top right of a site. So when you're designing something, when you're designing a kind of site, look at what's being done, what people are used to, and don't change it for the sake of changing it. Look at something like Amazon. It's not a great looking site. In all honesty, it's probably a pretty badly designed site in a lot of ways, but it works. And it works because the things you expect to see are in the places you expect to see them. So the account is in the same place, the menu structure is the same, all those kinds of things. So when you start to buck that trend, all you tend to do is you cause confusion. So like I say, this isn't aimed at Volker's site. This is aimed at a completely different site, but it's one of those things that popped into my head, and I just wanted to bring that up because it is something that I do kind of find a little frustrating. Okay, so let's go back to the site. Like I say, bear with me because the translation thing is automatically kicking in sometimes, and it means that I see things that are popping up that you don't normally see. But in general, I think the first thing that I would draw attention to is white space. I like more breathing space between different elements. So for example, I'd like more space around the text in this blue box. Nothing inherently wrong with it. You can read it perfectly fine. But I just think lots of white space just opens up the design and makes it just that little bit more, how can I say, modern, a little bit more fresh. These little, like I say, these little 10% of polish is the thing that can make 90% of a difference to a site. And the same kind of thing goes for the space in between the sections. Between where we've got these product shots and we've got this section, and then you've got the yacht strip logo and what our customers say. I would just like to see more separation in that area, just to give us a little bit of breathing space. The same kind of thing goes then to the reviews and the yacht strip. I think where we've got this blue strip for the video, I would rather see that alternating. So for example, where you've got the product reviews, I would have rather seen a different color strip behind the product reviews. And then when you go to the video is in its own separate section. So you create visible delineation between the various different sections that technically are different information. Because if you look at the page, you've got three distinct sections. You've got your header section, three at the top, I should say. You've then got this example of the product and information about the product itself. Then what a customer say to give social proof of the product. They would benefit, I think, from just having some kind of color separation between them, just to give that little bit of space and breathing space. Excuse me. But apart from that, I think the site itself looks good. I think there's a little bit of white space, little tweaks would be really useful. I'm not so fussed on the little pill-shaped buttons because I kind of feel like pill-shaped buttons was something that were, should we say, a couple of years ago. I know there's some sites and they do it well. Just for me, I don't really like them. They're not my cup of tea. I like straight edges when it comes to buttons, but that's a subjective kind of thing. And the only other thing I would say with the design is I'd like to see the navigation being a little bit more prominent, because it's kind of sitting in the middle and it doesn't really have any weight to it. So let's switch back to the right screen. So for me, I would just like to see this section at the top just be a little bit bigger, a little bit bolder, just so we can see it's the navigation, and then close up the spacing on the sign in, the account, and the cart page kind of thing. Just close that up a little bit, just to give three distinct groups: the logo, the navigation, and then the account section and the sign-in section. But other than that, I like the look of it. I think the color scheme works well because it ties in those reds and blues and whites. That's consistent throughout the packaging, consistent throughout the image in the background. Everything there is consistent. So a great job on that side of things. And I do think just a couple of little tweaks on there would make a world of difference. But apart from that, I think Volker's done a really, really good job. It's just a shame he's not in the comment section tonight, because I'm sure he'll be really gutted that he didn't get to partake. But if he is in there and I've missed you, please do say hello. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to see a couple of questions. And we've got one or two other little bits and pieces that I want to cover after that. But then I'm going to go back, do a couple more questions, and then we can sort of just close it out there. Because like I said, the time has flown by. The hour is nearly already gone, which just seems absolutely insane. Okay, Carl, you're in agreement with me. The call to action buttons need to be much bigger. Yeah, one of the things, I'm creating a video. Anyone that's in the Facebook group may have seen the post that I put up a couple of days ago about a tutorial that I'm working on, and I showed you the mock-up of the sort of homepage, which is to do with an architect site. It's a fictitious or semi-fictitious architect site. And part of that is, I could be lost my train of thought now. Oh, the buttons and so on. Part of that is that I want to go through and show you how I would create a design, an initial design kind of thing. Then I would take it apart and look at the various different things using heat maps to see how people would look at the various different sections. And then I can compare different layouts, different designs to see which is going to give the best result for my call to actions, the best viewer sort of interaction with the various different elements, what draws your attention, what fights for your attention, what negates from what I want to say. So I think tools like that make a lot of difference. And once you understand and you get a good understanding of how different things can work, it's good, especially if you do A/B testing and things like that. So yeah, the call to actions need to be clear and not vying for attention with anything else on that particular layout. So Carl, you're right. The call to action buttons could do with being a little bit bigger, a little bit more prominent. Okay, what do we have? Logo appears in almost every section too much. Yeah, I suppose you are right on that front. I think the brand awareness may be a little bit too much. Maybe sort of keep it to the top, navigation and the footer where you might have an about. But you know, generally, these are little things that I think you can tweak to get a better end result. But yeah, good call. I didn't actually take too much notice of that. Okay, so what else do we have? Let's have a little look. We've got a couple of different conversations going on here. Okay, pause here. I would like to take the logos out. If I'm honest, it's a bit logo overload. Again, hopefully, Volker will see this and take on board what's being said. Maybe refine it if he agrees with what we're saying. But thank you very much for your feedback and getting involved with this kind of thing. Because it's a new idea. See if it's got legs. See if we like to get involved. And as I said before, if anybody's got a design that they would like to get critiqued by myself and the sort of live stream audience, hop over to the WP Crew Facebook group, which is wptuts.co.uk/Facebook. Sign up, become part of the crew, get involved, and post your links in the thread that's on there. So get involved. Okay, so what I do is one more thing we're going to cover quickly, and then I'm going to jump over to the questions. So let me just get my little thing up on here and switch over to this. Okay, so we've covered Elementor. We've covered a little bit about WordPress. We talked about Oxygen, probably more so in previous videos. I don't want to talk too much about the Brizy update, but I do think it's something that if you've looked at Brizy in the past and you've kind of put off having anything to do with it because doesn't include the features you want, hopefully by the end of this year, it should address a lot of those different things. So WooCommerce is the big thing that they're putting out at the moment. So it's really good to see that WooCommerce is coming to it. I've tested this out briefly. I need to spend a little bit more time with it. And it's got, how can I say, we talked about in the past how, and we talked about earlier today in this live stream, how Elementor has put out part featured widgets and part featured features. So for example, when it comes to WooCommerce, you had the archive page and you had the single product page, and that's all you could edit. Well, Brizy, with their WooCommerce integration, isn't going down that route. You're going to have those both pages. You can have your templates for your archive page, your template for your single product. You're also going to have your account page. You're going to have the ability to edit the cart page, the checkout page. Now, at the moment, the cart page and the checkout page are quite limited. You can't do anything too much to the sort of the loop of the items that you're purchasing, but that's only for now. They are bringing that into it when it releases, or at least not long after it releases. So you will be able to use Brizy to edit all of the different aspects to do with WooCommerce. That, I think, is going to give Elementor a run for its money, because I do think that Brizy, now I've gone back and taken a look at it to test this beta out, there's so much has been added to it that I think it's starting to pick up that bit of momentum. And I think if they can get these updates out, they can get the blog side of things in there, and they get the WooCommerce side of things in there, Brizy then will become a viable competitor to the likes of Elementor. No, it doesn't have all of the things Elementor has, but I think their development cycle is going in the right way. They're not trying to just keep chucking features at it. They're looking at a logical way and right, okay, designers are looking to do this. This is what a typical WordPress designer that's going to use Brizy is going to want to do. They're going to want to create the designs, which Brizy already does a great job of. They may want to use starter themes and starter designs, which Brizy is far nicer looking designs than Elementor and a lot of the other page builders out there, to be honest. They want to do things like control and design blog layouts. They want to do things like headers and footers. They want to be able to create WooCommerce sites and style all of the aspects of the WooCommerce experience. So that's what they're building. And that, to me, is why I think Brizy, when it does that, it's going to become a viable competitor, because it does certain things so much better than a lot of the other page builders out there. And the interface is so out of your face, so subtle, and so intuitive for the most part. I just think if you haven't taken a look at Brizy in a while, might be time to go back and take a little look at it, especially if you've got a pro license or you've been thinking of grabbing a pro license, even just to test it out. I think when they release this WooCommerce update and the blog update and the features in there, I think it's going to be a real contender for a lot of the other page builders out there. So that's my 2 cents on it. Tom Somerset, I can never say your surname, Somerset. I keep wanting to go say Somerset. Tom Somerset, thank you very much for that super chat. Again, like I say, anybody that does the super chats, you are fantastic. Thank you very much for your support and also for being here tonight. You are just amazing. Okay. Have you ever shared your no-code tools task app? Not too sure what you mean. If you could let me know in the comments, in the chat, what you mean there, my no-code tools and so on, please do let me know, and I'll see if I can come back and answer that question with some understanding of what you're asking me. Okay. Stardust tutorials. Brizy is going at the correct direction, but with lots of stops. Yeah, I agree with you there. It is taking a long time to get there. But on the flip side of it, you do have to consider the fact that while it's taking them a long time to get there, they are at least not having massive issues with sites falling over and causing people huge amounts of stress and hassle. So I think we've got to look at both sides of the coin with that. I would love to see it go a little bit quicker, because I think I started using Brizy and talking to Dimmy, one of the guys over at Brizy, probably 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. So it is taking a long time to get where we want it to go. But then also, it's as you kind of go back and use it, you understand why they're taking their time to do it. And I also think the Brizy Cloud, I think Brizy Cloud is so underrated for so many different reasons that it's just insane. And the price that it's there for is just like, I know for me, I had the two years free basically with my Brizy Pro license. I'll be buying it afterwards anyway. I don't even use it for clients. I just use it for myself, for testing things out and trying things and just to keep an eye on it. And I just think I'd put my money into that to support what they're doing, because I think Brizy Cloud is an amazing platform. And once they add in some of the other features they're looking to add in that doesn't rely upon WordPress, which takes out all those hassles that we talked about with regards to updates and security and patches and all those kinds of things, I think it becomes a viable contender against the likes of things like Editor X, those kinds of things, Webflow and so on, at a much cheaper cost. So that's my 2 pence. That's what I think. So, it's awesome. I think it's really good. Anyway, that's what I wanted to cover in today's live stream. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been an interesting conversation. I'm going to spend 10 minutes or so now. We're going to take a look at the live chat. I'll answer some questions, get involved in that. And we'll call it a day after that. But hopefully you're enjoying it as well and you found it worthwhile being here. So let me just go back and take a little look at some of these comments and questions. Okay. Start us tutorials. Brizy are bad in marketing. Update came after 4 months and they have us 10 elements and said, go and test them. Have you ever been to test 10 elements at once? Quicker updates, less elements is the answer. I don't think any of them are perfect. You know, I'm not as prevalent in the Brizy community as I kind of am in the Elementor community. Even though I don't comment a huge amount, I do keep an eye on it quite a lot. You know, none of these are perfect. They've all got their weaknesses. They've all got their strengths. And maybe the communication side of things isn't great and the marketing side of things isn't great more. So, you know, I can imagine there's still, when it comes to Brizy, because I know that they've got more than just Brizy and Brizy Cloud, I can imagine there's still, you know, still a small company that's trying to do a lot and they haven't seen the exponential growth of something like Elementor going from, I think I put something out which is like the 2 million users of Elementor, and then within less than a year they were at 5 million. I mean, that is exponential growth when it comes to a page builder. They are just on a huge trajectory. Whereas Brizy, I think, is a lot more like so. But, you know, I suppose you could say it's the what's it called, the tortoise and the hare. You know, which one will win? I don't know. Anyway, so what do we have? Tom, so sorry, I meant the kind of tools do you use in your daily productivity, Notion, Todoist, note taking, etc. Primarily Notion. I've got Plutio, which I bought on a lifetime deal over AppSumo, which is a great platform, but can be a little overkill and for what I want to do. So I still go back to it every now and again. But I've definitely fallen in love with Notion over the last 5 or 6 months. I just love the flexibility of being able to create databases, create tables, create templates, link things together, cross-link things together, embed Google Docs into it and all those kinds of things. I absolutely love Notion. It's absolutely fantastic. And that's kind of what I'm using in the background here to do with the live stream. So let me just quickly flip over my screens a second and I'll show you exactly what's going on there. Just making sure there's nothing that you shouldn't see. So, for example, anyone that's not aware of how Notion works, this is basically the live stream for Notion today. So this just kind of breaks down what it is that I wanted to cover, the links to the different sites, my feedback, some of the different sites that I wanted to take a look at, time permitting. And, you know, then on the left-hand side, I've got all the things like the different views for the different tutorials and things that I'm looking at doing, different ideas. If we come over to, for example, bear with me, my home section, you can see that I've got interesting links, content ideas, overall content strategies, general content guidelines, you know, title conventions, all those kinds of cool things. So for me, Notion is an absolute game changer, and I love it. There. Okay, now it's telling me that my connection is unstable. So can everybody still hear and see me? I'll have a drink while you tell me, or not. Thank you, Carl. And Carl, I hope you're having a drink tonight because you haven't mentioned having a drink. Excellent, thank you very much. I froze for a second. Don't know why it's boiling in here. Okay, strange, really. It's probably because I'm on the laptop or on Wi-Fi, so it might have something to do with it, as opposed to on one of my main PCs. Paul C, I've just joined the Facebook group. That's going to cause some confusion. Definitely. Okay. Let's get WP Test to 100,000 subscribers by Christmas. Please do. I would love it. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay. No, okay, we're going. Bear with me. You get to keep all your Brizy Pro cloud features. You will only lose their hosted facility. It's a crazy deal. Elstec, I agree. You know, even if you don't want to pay for it, you know, just sign up for an account. You still get a ton of options. And what I love, I think, out of all the things that they do on there, I think the thing that I like the most about it, or the two things I like the most about it, one, you can create it using a page builder that you're familiar with inside a WordPress-like environment. And then you can output that either as just a standalone HTML setup and then just put that wherever you want, Or you can do the same kind of thing, and you can also then link your cloud account with that particular website to the domain on a different hosting account. And then you can make changes on your Brizy cloud. And then when you're ready, you can push those changes over to your site on a different server. That's just brilliant. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I haven't looked if they got versioning. So version control would be really useful. So you could roll back easily. I'd have to take a look at that. But if you aren't familiar with Brizy Cloud, I would suggest taking a look and even just signing up for the free account, because you still get a lot for a free account, which I think is just insane. I know it's probably to try to get people onto the platform to pay for it, but really take it out, take a look at it, take it for a test drive, try the free account. It is just a really, really cool platform, and one that's worth taking a look at in more detail. And as more features roll out to the Brizy WordPress plugin, lots of those features are going to roll out to the cloud-based platform. Obviously, you're not going to have things like WooCommerce integration, but they have hinted at the fact that there may be some kind of e-commerce sort of option later on down the line in the cloud platform. So if e-commerce is what you're looking at, just for a small site, because I would suggest if you're looking for a bigger site, I wouldn't go down the route of something like that. I would look at a dedicated platform. But it's great to see that they're taking those things on board. Okay. Way off topic. What football club do you support? None. I'm not a football fan at all. I like rugby. I'm Welsh. Of course I like rugby. Football, they just fall over when somebody blows past them. Sorry. I do apologize to all the football fans out there if I just alienated you and I watch my figures of who's on the sort of live stream now just disappear and go down to two of us, me and Carl. So sorry. I should give Guinness a go. Oh, it's like a meal in a glass. Can I get a pint? Bad tags? Of course you can. There's a couple in the fridge. Do you want me to go and grab one for you? Do you want a splash of lime in it? Splash of lemonade in it? What's your tipple? I'm just joking. Sorry. Okay, so let's just have a couple more questions. So anybody got any questions for me to do with what we've covered tonight, or things that you would like to see covered in the next live stream, for example? Now, like I said, I know I put a post up. The live streams are not about tutorials. The live streams are about having a conversation, getting involved, talking about what's going on, talking about things that we like, I like, you like, things that have annoyed us, things that are not working, those kinds of things. So don't think of these as tutorials, because I think it's the wrong platform for me to create tutorials on. Short snippets could be useful, but not full-blown tutorials. It's just too prone to problems. Okay. Now, I did see a CrocoBlock one. CrocoBlock is offering a lifetime license like many other plugin providers. How do you think? Will that be killing the updates in the future and get good profit quickly, or better than monthly subscriptions? I see your point. I think anything that predominantly relies upon lifetime deals, you do really open up the risk of not having enough cash flow in your business to sustain it long term. But I think what CrocoBlock did recently when they changed their pricing structure, which I know annoyed a lot of people, but I think their business model and what they offer for that price is definitely worth it. And let me just quickly hop over to the CrocoBlock site a second so I can see what the current pricing structure is. I can talk with actual information in front of me. No, I don't want to allow pop-ups. I hate that notification for allowing pop-ups. It really annoys me. Right, let's get the price in. Where is the pricing? Why isn't the pricing on the front page? Come on, CrocoBlock. Pricing. I think what they did by changing the pricing scheme was a good thing. Let me just hop over to that a second so I can talk. You can see they've got the e-commerce, the design, and so on. So they've done something along the same lines as what you can do when it comes to different kinds of deals with something like Adobe. You've got the different kinds of accounts there, and then they've got the all-inclusive lifetime. And as we can see, $750 over the annual, which is $130. So a massive increase in price, which for a lot of people will probably alienate them from buying that unless they're making money out of a platform like CrocoBlock. So I think they were smart when they did this, that they thought, okay, if we're going to have people taking us up on this all-inclusive lifetime deal, let's put the price up to a price that makes it out of the reach of some people that are doing this for fun. And let's keep them on the other plan. So they'll keep on paying annually and keep us having residual income. I mean, all businesses need cash flow. All businesses need residual income. So to me, it was a case of, let's make that one more expensive. Let's make the other ones in different tiers, should we say. And then the people that buy the lifetime deal, they get a great deal. They sustain us for maybe 5 years worth of an annual, puts immediate money into the coffers. But also people that can't afford that, or people that are maybe passing the cost of this on to their clients, they are then having residual income from that annual, yearly money that comes in. So I think they were smart in doing it the way they did. So I don't think that lifetime deal is going to be something that the majority of people will actually take advantage of, because I think it might be out of the reach of some people that are doing this on a smaller budget. Therefore, it means that they'll pay the annual fee as opposed to the one-time lifetime fee, and they'll keep on having that money coming in, as well as some people that will pay that $750 to get the lifetime deal. So it kind of probably balances out over a 12-month period. That's the way I would look at it. And I think that's probably why they went back and restructured how much the lifetime deal was and how much the different plans were. Because I think to start off with, the CrocoBlock plan was just way too cheap for what you were getting. And now Jet Engine, I mean, there's some new features in Jet Engine 2.5, which I'm testing out. And I've been testing the beta out for a little bit. A couple of things that I'm not too happy with, a couple of things I don't understand too well because it's not too clear how it's working. But there will be a video on the CrocoBlock channel that I'll be going through that. But I think people will really like what's coming in this beta version. And there's nothing hidden about it. It's basically what they've offered is you can now create your own custom post type or your custom data inside there that you normally would, but you can create your own custom database table to store it in, which for bigger sites should also mean that you can strip out your custom data into its own database tables, which means exporting should be easier. It also means that you should see a marginal speed increase because it has less records being stored in its own database table than it does when it's working in a normal custom post type metafields kind of way. I'm not too sure on the technology side of things. It's not really my kind of bag with it. But I do think it's something that is going to really open up some possibilities. And again, it's another one of the things that no one else that I know of that's doing things like custom post type and metafields and so on is even offering this kind of thing. I think you can buy Jet Engine as a standalone product for about $15 or $19. That's an insane amount of functionality for not a lot of change. So I like it. I really do. Just want to sort of say that. So I think it's a good deal. Steve Pro was going to buy the Croco on sale for $399 lifetime. Next look, $750. Ouch. Bought dynamic plan instead. Yeah, they didn't do themselves any favors by not giving some 7 or 14 days heads up notice to say, if you want to buy it at this price, buy it now. At least I don't think they did. I could be wrong on that. They might have done it because I get so many emails coming from so many different companies. I can't keep up with everything that's being done. But even if you're using it for clients, and you're working with clients and you're working with more advanced websites, I know $750 is a lot of money, but compare what you get for $750 to something like ACF. I love ACF, but the pricing on that, let me just see what the pricing currently is on ACF. And bearing in mind, while ACF is an amazing platform, it is still only one part of the equation, which means that you still need to have other tools, or you're happy to get stuck in and start coding. So I think you get a lot of bang for your buck there. And ACF on an annual now, if I can find the pricing, just bear with me a second. That on its own is $250. So that's something per year, $250 per year. There's no lifetime deal on that. That is every single year you've got to pay that. In comparison to, was it 130 for the all-inclusive yearly when it comes to CrocoBlock. I know you're limited to having to work with Gutenberg or with Elementor, but that's still a huge amount of functionality for not a lot of money. You could easily make that money back by working with one client. Well, yeah, that's unlimited as well. Oh, hang on, I tell you, do apologize. $265 for the unlimited. My mistake, I was looking at the one website thing on there. But either way, $265, you could do one client's website and you'd have made that money back without any problem. Fat Jay, they did 2 months before the price changed. Shows how much notice I take of my email newsletters, doesn't it? That's also Australian dollars. That's also a good point, Fat Jay. Very good point. Either way, what I'm kind of trying to say is that when you compare the two, ACF does one job, so you still need to be able to create custom post types and filters and searches and so on. Whereas with the CrocoBlock plugins, you have all of that available to you. Even if you don't want to use it all, you still have access to all of that on unlimited sites for not a huge amount of money. So like I say, one client site, you could make that money back. One client site, you could pay for the lifetime deal, to be honest, if you're doing a more complex site that requires, you know, custom fields, meta fields, searches, filters, and all those kinds of useful things. Okay, so let me take a couple of questions, and then we're going to call it a night because my 1 hour live stream is now turned into 1 hour 20 minutes so far. Okay. What have we got? Best value for money e-commerce theme. I don't really use themes for their full features. You know, I tend to use the Hello theme and then build everything out inside Elementor. But when you're dealing with an e-commerce site, you don't necessarily even want to use Elementor. So I would look at something like Cadence. Cadence is a good theme. That's getting a lot of traction. The free version has some really cool, useful features for the headers and footers and customizing all those kinds of things. So check out Cadence. Blocksy is another good theme. That's up and coming. Those are the two that I would take a look at to give you a lot of flexibility in the free versions. And if you want to upgrade to Pro, I don't know what the price is. I think they're doing some lifetime offers at the moment with Cadence. So you could snag yourself a nice little deal on there to have a lifetime deal on all the plugins that expand exactly what Cadence Pro offers. But those are the two I would probably take a look at to use for WooCommerce or e-commerce if you didn't want to use something like Elementor and build your own out. Hope that answers the question. Okay, do I prefer Hello theme or Carver theme if working with CrocoBlock? Hello. I tried the Carver theme and I just fell back to Hello. I think Hello, if you consider Hello being a theme, it's basically, forget about it. You're using Elementor to build all the aspects of your site anyway. Hello is just there to satisfy WordPress's need to have a theme installed, unless, of course, you use something like Toolkit for Elementor, where you could then go themeless, but that has its own couple of little issues that might not necessarily be the right way for you to go about things. But you can just literally just use Hello theme and use that as a backbone, and then just build everything out yourself inside Elementor. That's how I would go about it anyway. So no, I wouldn't use Carver. 100% Hello theme. Thank you, Carl. I agree. Anthony T, question, what do you think of using a plugin to disable other plugins that loads on pages they're not being used on, like Contact Form 7? Won't this help a lot with page load speeds as well? Yes, it should. Excuse me. I'm looking at, I think it's something like WP Asset Cleaner. That's a plugin you want to take a look at. That's a free plugin, and that allows you to go page by page and disable like CSS, JavaScript, things that are not needed. So, for example, WooCommerce loads all its scripts on every single page, no matter if WooCommerce is being used on that page or not. Whereas if you use something like Asset Cleaner, you can then go in and you can set that up to disable those scripts and those styles and those kinds of things, all those files that are ancillary on pages that are not requiring it. It takes a bit of time and effort. And if you've got a big site, it might not necessarily be the best way of going about it, but it's something worth looking at. So it is something I'm taking a look at myself, and I probably will put some content together when I go back and do more on streamlining and speeding up your WordPress websites. But take a look at Asset Cleaner. That's a good one. I use WP Optimize in Fast Velocity, which is pretty good. Yep. WP Optimize is good. It just depends if you want to buy a plugin to do that. And even then, I don't believe that it will strip out those files on pages where they're not using them, because you can use Asset Cleaner alongside any of these kinds of tools anyway. So you could use the two in combination to get the best of both worlds. One to optimize and combine your CSS and JavaScript and all those kind of things, and the other one then to disable those different files on pages where they're not being used. So pages that don't have products on, well, you can get them quicker by not having all those WooCommerce files and so on being loaded in. You know, lots of different options, lots of different combinations. Edgar Matthew, what beer are you having? Would like to buy you some. I'm on Coors tonight. I'm not the biggest lager drinker, to be honest, but it was all they had down the shop that I would like. So it's a Coors, but that's what I like. Okay, so Skibab Finn, I hope I've said that right. Do you buy own hosting plans for your clients, individual cPanel example, or want a huge plan and make their add-on domains? For my paying clients, I use a reseller account for a UK-based hosting company that I've worked with past 15 years, something like that, who've been fantastic. A company called Klook, CLOOK. So if you're in the UK and you're looking for a reliable hosting company that has exceptional technical support and customer service, check them out. But what I do is I've got a reseller account on there, and then all my clients are part of that reseller account. So they can have cPanel access if they want to, which the majority have no interest in whatsoever. So I let them have access to that if they want to. But that does things like runs automatic daily, weekly, and monthly backup updates, great technical support, all the things you'd expect. And I get full control over then, so I can make sure that if I've got a client that's on a site that is experiencing a big upturn, for example, we've got a couple of different sites on the servers that where we've had this sort of global pandemic kind of thing, because one of them is a food-based company and people are looking to order food sort of products online. Their bandwidth usage and their visitors have just gone skyrocketed. So it just means that I can keep an eye on that. I get notified if there's any kind of problem. Then I can increase their bandwidth, their storage space, all those kinds of things. They then know nothing about it whatsoever, so I can manage that load balance, all those kinds of things. It's just an easy way. If you don't want to have that ongoing maintenance and that ongoing residual income, then set your clients up with their own dedicated hosting account. Include the first year inside the fee that you charge for the website development. Give them all the access details and then tell them that they're going to be billed every single year by that company for their hosting, or month, whatever you kind of want to set up. It's up to you how you want to do it. There's lots of different ways to do it, but that's how I do it. Suman Kumar, thank you so much for the super chat. Again, overwhelmed by these kinds of things. I don't expect them in the slightest. This is just a load of fun for me. I just thoroughly enjoy doing these live chats, getting involved again, have a chat. But it is very much appreciated. Thank you very, very much. Michael Wright, being Welsh, you should be drinking brains. No, thanks. I'm not not my cup of tea in the slightest. Paul C, you need to try Double Punk IPA from Brewdog. I do like the Brewdog IPAs. I'm a bit of a fan of IPAs. They are quite nice. So I do like the Brewdog ones, and there's a couple of other ones which I can't think what they call off the top of my head. But I will make sure that the next time we have the live chat in 2 weeks, I'll have a couple of IPAs there. I need to get a little fridge on the side just so I can have a cold beer. I can just reach over and just pull a cold beer out every time we're just sort of having a nice little chat. I think that would be awesome. Don't think it would look good on the desk next to me, but it would be quite cool. Sorry, Suman, how to make price expire as an auto price update? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. If you could clarify that in the chat section, I'm still on here. I'll see if I can answer that question. But at the moment, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Sorry. Christopher Gatt, I'd love to send you beer from my country. Sisk is the best beer. Christopher Gatt, what is your country? If it's Croatia, you could send me some Ozushko, because I love Croatian beers. But hey, look, I'm open to beers. If people want to send me beers, send me beers. I'm open to send beers. I can a little segment on the live stream where we'll have beer tasting by Paul C. How's that sound? The real Paul C, though, obviously the real one, not the fake one that's in the chats right now. The real one. Okay, what else we have? You're from Malta. Well, funny enough, we were going to go to Malta on holidays this year if we hadn't had a global pandemic. So I'm quite gutted, to be honest. We were literally a finger's press away from booking the holiday back in May. I think it was May of this year. And it was just at the time where things were going a little bit pear-shaped, before lockdown, before anything was sort of confirmed in the UK. And then that came out, and it's like, I'm so glad that I said to hold back. But Malta is one country that I definitely want to go and visit because it looks absolutely stunning. Okay, so we've got Laura Mabee. Yes, let's do that. I have a lot of Western Canadian beers that are pretty darn good. I don't mind. I'm happy to have beers from all over the world. Please do send them. A nice little stockpile just in time for Christmas would be amazing. Then we can have 5-hour live chats on here where no one has to go to work. We can all just drink beer and we can talk about how good the beers are. Sounds like a plan to me. Okay, what have we got? Where to send the beers, though? I need to get a P.O. box, don't I? Maybe I'll set up a P.O. box and you can send them to the... How does that sound? Stop giving me ideas. Paul, come to South Africa. I'll personally host you and give you all the beers you like. Thank you very much, Edgar. That sounds like a real good plan. Okay, so let's have one or two more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up because this has now gone on for an hour and a half. Christopher Gatt, PO Box is a great idea. Might need a truck on the beer, though. Yeah, we're a beer T-shirt promotion. Funny you should mention T-shirts, because when you see me next time, you should see some new official WP Tuts merchandise. This is not one of them, but I'm waiting for the prototype T-shirts to come back to see what they look like. So I'm super excited about that kind of thing. But anyway, we've talked about beer, we've talked about merchandise and T-shirts and things, and Carl is being the very sensible young man that he is. He's saying we need to wrap this up by answering a couple of questions. So, PO Box Paul C. Beer. Now, if I could get that, wouldn't that be awesome? I want the D&G T-shirt. I haven't got a D&G T-shirt. Skabab Fin. That's just too difficult to say. Thank you very much again. Awesome super chat. Stop sending me money. You're awesome. Fair play. I want to make a store with a price table, like the first price validity is 10 days. After that 10 days, price expires and second price automatically applied. That's a difficult one. What I would suggest you do, if you're not already part of the Facebook group, hop over there, wptuts.co.uk/Facebook. Post that question on there so it'll remind me, because it's a bit difficult to answer that inside the super chat. But if you post that up there, we can take a look at it. And if I can't come back with finding an answer, I'm sure some of the incredibly talented people that are part of that group will definitely have some ideas on how to do it. But please do that, because, like I say, it's difficult for me to answer these kind of questions because they're quite big questions. But please get involved and drop the question inside there so you have a better chance of getting it answered and finding out more information about any problem that you're actually looking to get solved. So please do that, Suman. And like I say, Skabab, thank you very much. Okay, let's do two more questions, and then we're going to call it a day, because I think I need some food and another cold beer. Okay. Steve Pro, you noticed that I do like T-shirts. Well, I didn't realize I liked T-shirts as much until people started commenting on my T-shirts in my YouTube videos. So I do like T-shirts. I have a bit of a T-shirt collector, it has to be said. We went out about a week or so ago. We popped out to the coast, and I think I came back with about 7 new T-shirts. So, yeah, maybe I do have a bit of a problem. Alongside Cons and what's the other one I've got? Vans, DAPS, trader things. Let's not go there. Thank you, Carl. Thank you for posting that link. You're a gentleman. That is indeed the link to the Facebook group. Okay, what have we got? Paul, what front-end forms can I use that will pull through jet engine taxonomies? I think when it comes to jet engine taxonomies, you are still going to be limited to the jet engine forms. I don't think anything else is currently tapping into jet engine form data or metadata. So I think you will still be limited to jet engine forms. I am going to take a look at where we are with the sort of the front end form side of things on there, because I think that has updated quite a lot over the last, say, 5 or 6 months since I released the first video on that. So I'm going to take a look at that and see what's changed and maybe put a video together if things have changed enough. But I would say you probably are going to be limited to using the CrocoBlock form builder for anything to do with the custom post types and all those kinds of things that are part of Jet Engine. Okay, Vans fans, yes, all your T's I noticed. Well, this one's an Altura one, which is more to do with mountain biking, which I enjoy doing as well. Oh, yes. Right, we go. I confirm that Pure.NET Pro forms work with Jet Engine custom fields and taxonomies, but it does not work with Jet Engine repeater fields. Christopher, that's good to know. Really good to know. Excuse me. I would say if it doesn't work with the repeater fields, though, they are definitely worth reaching out to, because while their support isn't necessarily all we would like it to be, they are pretty receptive to suggestions and new ideas for functionality. So I would say maybe reach out to them, drop them a message via the chat thing that's in their sort of Pure.NET Forms site, and just say, like, you know, is there any possibility of working with the repeater regions, and see what they come back with, and let us know. Like I say, if you're part of the Facebook group, let me know. If you're not and you come back onto the next live stream in 2 weeks' time, let me know there, because I do, even though I can't keep up with the chat that's going on when we're doing it live, I do tend to watch these videos back afterwards with the sound turned off, so I can read through all the comments, because you've got to they kind of scroll up through as the comments are coming in line with the video. So I do try to go back and take a look at what's being said, so I can at least be prepared for the next video. So like I say, if you get any feedback from them, let me know, because it'd be great to know that they're actually, you know, sort of open to the suggestions. And if we can get them to work with the forms and the repeater regions and things like that, that would be awesome. But thank you for letting me know it works with everything bar that. That's something for me to test out in the future. Okay, right then. I think we're going to call it a day there. Carl has just told me that we've got to call it a day. And what Carl says has to go, I'm afraid. So Carl says, send me lots of beer. I can't help this. I mean, Carl's the boss around here. It has to be said, Carl is the boss. Anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed the live stream again tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being involved in what we're doing. Thank you so much for your questions, your comments. And thank you so much for being involved in not just the live chats, but also being an integral part of the WP crew over on Facebook, over on YouTube, over on Twitter. It means the absolute world to me that so many of you are so receptive to what I put out there, but also so many of you are making this community an amazing place to be. So thank you so much. And before we sort of wrap this up, everybody that's still here, please say thank you very much to Carl for getting involved. He's an amazing person for answering and helping out in the comment section, in the chat section. So thank you very much, Carl. Once again, hope you're going to set yourself up with a nice drink after you've done this. Thank you for your support. Thank you for getting involved. And I'm sure not only myself appreciate it, but so do all the people that are in the chat right now when you're helping those out with comments and questions and answers. So thank you very much, Carl. You're a godsend. And Skabab, again, stop sending me bloody money. Go get the beer, the first one for you. You are an absolute star. Okay, so I'm going to call it a night here. We're going to just wrap things up. Like I say, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, please do that. wptets.co.uk/Facebook. Get involved over there. That's a place where I keep an eye on every single day, try to answer questions when I can, but it's an amazing, supportive network of people that are like-minded, that love what we do on the channel, love what you can do with Elementor on WordPress, and they are so open to helping and support. So really do love that place. I'm going to call it a day here. Thank you very much. I will see you in 2 weeks' time, which I can't remember what the date is, but 2 weeks from today, there will be a link in the Facebook group, a link on Twitter, and I will create another link so you can have a notification as part of part of YouTube to be notified as soon as we go live in 2 weeks' time. So look after yourself, keep safe, make sure that you are as safe as possible with what's going on in this world right now, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. So thank you very much. I'll see you soon.